Well, for more on this story, we can speak now to our correspondent Reza Sayah, who is following developments for us in the Iranian capital this hour. Reza, we've had a joint statement issued between the two sides. Just what has been agreed to?
Thomas, any talks or negotiations that are related to Iran's nuclear program are usually marred by problems and conflict and disagreement and obstacles. But here's a surprise. Today, that seemingly wasn't the case. By all accounts, this was a visit by Mr. Grossi that went smoothly, went positively, and most importantly, the two sides reached a small but important agreement that perhaps sets the tone for two important events. First off, next week's meeting of the Board of Governors of the IAEA, and then the Vienna talks that are set to resume soon after. Remember, coming into his visit, Mr. Grossi's visit, there was a lot of reports and rumors that Western powers were seriously considering censuring Iran next week at the IAEA meeting for what they viewed as Iran stonewalling the IAEA on a couple of issues, including blocking access to video monitoring equipment at several of Iran's nuclear sites. Iran had said all along that this was an agreement that they'd reached with the IAEA, that they would block access to these equipments until and unless they were delivered the economic benefits of the nuclear deal signed back in 2015. Here's the big development today. In their joint statement, the IAEA and Iran said that Iran has agreed to give the IAEA access to service these video monitoring equipment and to change their memory card. So seemingly a positive gesture from Iran. In that statement, it was also stated that next week, the head of Iran's nuclear program would meet with Mr. Grossi on the sidelines of the Board of Governors meeting, and that Mr. Grossi would return to Iran soon. Remember, Iran had warned against a censure next week at the IAEA meeting. It said it wanted goodwill, cooperation. Seemingly, based on today's events, Iran has made a goodwill gesture. Now all eyes turn to next week to see what the IAEA Board of Governors does.
And Reza, as you were saying there, the talks and the tensions, of course, don't necessarily stop here, with more discussions, as you've been saying, in the diary.
Yeah, and those are the Vienna talks, and there's a lot of people wondering when those talks will resume. Remember, the last time the talks took place was back in June. We haven't had much progress for the past couple of months, and that has a lot to do with the Iranian presidential elections that took place in June. There was a transition period from the administration of the former president, Hassan Rouhani, to the current president, Ebrahim Raisi. It was said by the Raisi administration that in September they were targeting talks, but still no specific date. When those talks happen, the issues that remain unresolved remain the same. Iran wants sanctions lifted. It wants a guarantee from Washington that the next U.S. administration won't pull out of the deal like the Trump administration did. For their part, Washington wants Iran to commit to follow-up talks to talk about issues other than its nuclear program. A lot of things to be resolved, but seemingly a positive step today, Thomas.
Reza Sayah, our correspondent in Tehran, thank you very much.